So Wonder Woman 1984 is the second installment of the DCEU Wonder Woman series. I personally really like the first movie, aside from some problems with the weird ending. Most of the DCEU is really bad, and they've had a lot of swings and misses, but I feel like they've actually gotten better lately, and are starting to pick up some steam, with movies like Shazam and even Aquaman. I thought that the first Wonder Woman was the start of that, because that was the first one they put out that was actually pretty good. I feel like this movie sticks with that, and does a lot right with the character, just like the first one. I'm going to start with what I really liked about the movie. The first thing I want to talk about is Wonder Woman is actually heroic. Everywhere she goes, she tries to save the day in a way where no one gets hurt. Even when she's taking down the biggest of bad guys, she takes them down in a way that stops them, but doesn't actually hurt them. I realized this about halfway through the movie, and I tried to look for it, and I'm pretty sure that no one died throughout the whole 2.5-hour movie. I know this sounds like an obvious thing, but a lot of superheroes have at least a little bit of carnage and some deaths along the way. And I just thought it was really cool how someone as pure as Wonder Woman can be shown on screen as a total hero. I also really liked the villains in this movie. First we have Cheetah, who is a total classic Wonder Woman supervillain. And I thought she was a really good contrast to Diana. It was cool watching her get more and more comfortable with her powers as the movie went on, and it felt totally natural that someone who was as down on her luck as she was ended up using her powers for evil rather than good. I like stories where the villain has similar powers as the hero, but uses them for their own selfish purposes. I think it shows how our hero could be if they were selfish rather than selfless. The other villain in this is the Mandalorian, who is another guy who is down on his luck until he finds the wishing gem. And this felt like a little bit of a cheat, because he just turned himself into the wishing gem. It almost felt like when you ask someone what they would wish for, they asked for more wishes. It just felt a little bit like cheating to me. I thought he served as another good villain, though, and I really liked how this whole story played out. I liked how he got obsessed with the power of granting anyone wishes, and it just kept snowballing as he got more and more hungry for power. One thing that kind of bugged me a bit is we had two villains who basically had the same plot. Like, they were both down on their luck in the beginning of the movie, and then go crazy for the power once they begin to have some powers. It almost just felt like we were watching two different versions of the same story. The other thing that kind of bugged me about the movie is everything seemed kind of vague. There were a lot of times where I felt like I missed something and almost had to catch myself up using context clues and just everything going on in the movie. It wasn't really clear at first that the gem could grant wishes, and you kind of almost figure it out later, but the story is framed in a way where you should almost just know the whole time. I think that just a couple more scenes or exposition that explained what was going on a little better would have made it so we weren't as confused for most of the time. The last thing I want to talk about is the whole theme of sacrifice throughout the whole movie. When Chris Pines comes back, we almost know what's going to happen at the end of the movie, but we don't want it to happen. At least for me, it was easy to tell that she would eventually have to sacrifice him for the greater good, but the movie kind of uses that to its advantage, and they make him really likable so it has an even greater impact when we have to see Diana say goodbye to him. I liked that when the Mandalorian sacrificed his powers, he was reunited with his son, which is what he truly wanted all along. He just got too hungry for power. Overall, I think this movie was close to being really good. There's just a few things that could have been better if some of the key plot points were explained a little better. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. One last thing about the movie is it doesn't really add anything to the DC universe as a whole, which I think is a big mistake. If DC really wants to try and do the Marvel thing, and have a universe with a cast of characters and storylines, it would be better to have their most successful hero connect to the universe a bit better. I get that they were trying to tell their own story, and I think there's definitely a place for that, but the whole extended universe thing doesn't quite work if they just keep putting out these standalone movies. Either way, the movie was pretty good, and definitely another step in the right direction for DC. Thanks everyone for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.